My name is Jill Hatchett, and I am testifying on the Overcame by. My story is one of many women where you lose yourself. You become mom, you become wife, you become whatever job title you hold, and you just lose that person that you are, that soul, that spirit, that being, and you just go through the motions. You're so busy doing for everyone else that you lose who you are. And like many women, I looked up, and as my children got older and they went to move on to start their own lives, I now had to figure out, who am I? My title had changed. I was no longer just Barry and Tanisha's mom. I am now Jill, and Jill doesn't even know who she is. I was in a body that I didn't recognize. I was 231 pounds, and I couldn't even tell you how I got there. I didn't exercise. I was in a marriage that wasn't the happiest because all of my focus was on the titles and not necessarily on taking care of my husband the way he needed me to. So I found myself depressed, and my drug of choice was food, but I also added alcohol on it. I am a nurse, so I was able to be very functional, and I knew the weekends, I had the weekends to drink, and then I would sober myself up to go to work and work the week. And I don't think anyone would have told you that I had a drinking problem, but when something is what you rely on to fix your moods, it is now an addiction. And that was alcohol for me, but also that was food for me. Food was what I turned to if I felt sad, if I celebrated, and it became where if I didn't eat what I wanted to, I felt depressed. And then after I ate it, I felt depressed because I knew what I was doing to myself. So it took just me getting to a low point where I started to be on antidepressants. I did go and see a therapist, and I had to acknowledge that I was in a bad place. And so I cried out to God, and He heard my cry. I got involved in a therapy group with Christian women, and we shared our stories, and we supported each other through our processes. I started to do the 12 steps from a Christian standpoint, and God just revealed all the hidden hurts that I still was holding on to. And so in growing closer to God, who I had turned away from because I didn't want that revelation of how far I was from Him, I turned back to the lover of my soul. And it was such a blessing because then I was able to open up and be a better mother, a better wife, a better nurse. And then I became better to Jill. I started to exercise. I started off going to Zumba because I always liked to dance. And I joined a Zumba class, and I met a young lady who, she wasn't stick thin. She wasn't probably what you see on the exercise videos, but she had energy, and she moved, and she was so charismatic. She just drew me into that. And she encouraged me to also become a Zumba instructor. And in doing that, I've gone on to meet many women who are again in the same situation that I was in, not concentrating on ourselves, just being mom and being wife and being whatever job title. So God has continued to use me in that area of exercise, and in showing my transition, because I am still transitioning. I'm not where I want to be, but I'm definitely not where I used to be. And so I'm encouraging that woman out there who maybe you feel as though I can't do it. I am too big to go to a class, or I haven't ran, or I haven't moved, I haven't went to a gym in years. Take the first step. Start at home. Get an exercise video, but also get a group and get a fitness buddy, and get someone that can help you, motivate you through this process. And also seek God. Have Him show you the things that you need. I never realized at my lowest points how much God cared for me and how much God wanted to restore me. The first things that we tend to do when we're going through depression and we're going through just spiritual battles is turn from the very one we should run to. And I did just that. I didn't go to church, which I've always been an attendant of church. I had a relationship with God, and I just let that relationship slide. But the awesome thing about God is that He didn't let me go, even when I let Him go. And He ministered to me as I was going through therapy, and I was having to deal with hurts stemming all the way back from childhood. God lovingly took me through that, and He ministered to the little girl in me and brought the woman in me to a place where He showed me that I was worth something. And then God blessed me to be able to share the word with other women and let them know through my struggle that I didn't know my worth, but God always thought that my worth was above Rubies. And that was a line that stayed with me. So I developed through God a ministry called Virtuous Fitness. And that ministry is designed primarily to speak to women that find themselves in a position where maybe you've gone through a divorce, or maybe you've just lost who you are, your children are grown, and you're not sure just what you're to do. Letting you know that you are worth more than rubies, and your body deserves to be treated as such, your mind deserves to be treated as such, and your spirit deserves to be treated as such. So I give little fitness tips, and I share my journey. You'll see me run, you'll see me teach Zumba and dance and exercise. And then I'll also share, as God leads me, some spiritual things that will help us all get to the point where we know our worth. So for that woman who's home and maybe you're not the weight that you want to be, or that woman who maybe weight isn't a struggle for you, but you're dealing with depression, you're dealing with being alone, know that God is there for you. He's waiting to restore you. He's calling you to come back, and your worth is far above rubies.
While you're standing there with your unclean hands. Yeah, I might have did it because He said it's finished. I know I've been forgiven. Newsflash, the blood still works. Being healed from my past, being cleansed from my hurt. Don't feel guilty, He's forgiven you.